Oh, 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 summer belongs to you. That's why you should go to the movies and see some summer movies. Hey everybody, this is My Profile is Great, and if you couldn't tell by that song, I am going to be talking about some summer movies that I am personally looking forward to, and my little geek heart is beating a little bit, fluttering for these eventual releases. Now, these are going to be the same movies that everybody else is looking forward to, I have no doubt. But you know what, I like discussing, what I've seen from the trailers, what I've been hearing from word of mouth, from early screenings and everything. So I thought it would be good to kind of give you guys a heads up as far as the things that I'm going to eventually talk about in detail once I actually see them on the big screen. The first one that I'm going to talk about is obviously Amazing Spider-Man. This one, it could go either way for me. I'm really looking forward to it. But at the same time, I could see where it could go horribly, horribly wrong. You start off with the director, Mark Webb, who had directed a fantastical romantic comedy from what I had heard. Something that was really good, really well respected, something that became like an industry high mark for how you do rom-coms. And now you have him directing Spider-Man. At first you go, oh yeah, that's a really cool choice because, you get these cool independent directors in there. They don't make the typical Hollywood decisions as far as these kind of movies go. And the movie ends up becoming a lot more personal. It doesn't just become another product. But then on the other end of that sort of thing, see, it goes both ways. You have Mark Webb, the independent filmmaker, who is going to become a puppet for the studio, potentially. And this happens a lot. You get something like Alien 3, which had been directed by the guy who later went on to direct Fight Club and Social Network and all those great kinds of films. They basically took that movie away from him. They yanked it away. They said, no, this is our movie. Here, we're going to dictate to you. And Sigourney Weaver is going to dictate, too, what's going to be in this film. And that's when things just get really, really depressing and sad because something with a lot of potential ends up completely sinking. On the other end of the stick, too, it's a little bit soon to be having a reboot of Spider-Man. I know, the old, argument as old as time as far as this movie is concerned. But the only Sam Raimi film that I really loved and that, for me, just screamed Spider-Man was Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1, I think, is an okay movie, I rewatched it recently, and I just don't feel like it stands up. It kind of reminds me of the way a lot of people describe the Tim Burton Batman movies to me, even though, really, I really like Batman and Batman Returns. But the way that they describe it to me is that, at the time that it came out, it was really great because we had Batman, and it was actually a decent film that was portraying this character, and it was great to see them on the big screen. That's how I feel the majority of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies feel like to me. They just feel like, oh, it's really cool to see Spider-Man up on the big screen. They did the story justice and everything, but it's not really anything too spectacular that you're going to be discussing, the nuances of the story and the characters that much. And that mostly had to do with the casting. And I think the casting is being remedied slightly in The Amazing Spider-Man. You have Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone is a fantastic actress. She's beautiful to look at. And then you have Andrew Garfield, which had proved his acting strokes, in my opinion, in The Social Network. And now he's getting into this, and I think he looks more like Peter Parker to me than did, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire was his name. That's going to come up in debate. The movie hasn't really come out yet, so I can't really, I can't judge the two until the final product really comes forward. One thing that I did see, though, that got me super interested was the 8-minute trailer preview thing that came out on the internet recently, where it's basically Spider-Man. It showed off the bridge sequence where he was saving people as their cars were falling down, and he's saving this kid, from this burning car, and the scene just kind of it hit me right here. Maybe it's just because I was reading, the dogs are barking. Maybe it's because I was reading too much into it or trying to find something that wasn't there. But I was actually really moved by that scene. And it felt like the kind of heart that I wanted to see in Spider-Man 1 and 3 that was there in Spider-Man 2. So I hope that the film turns out great. And that's pretty much all I can say. All I can do is hope. Brave, the new Pixar movie, which is the one where one half of the promotion that I've seen is great. The other half just makes me cringe and go, oh God, I sure hope this doesn't become like their second disaster after Cars 2. Cars 2 was the film that for me derailed a lot of Pixar confidence. And I hate to say it, I really do, because they only really made one bad movie. But that one movie was so bad that it made you question where the direction of the studio was going. The fact that the Pixar Brain Trust, which everybody puts so much pride into, everybody looks up to them in the industry as far as people who could tell a really great story, they let that turd just completely slide by. And they must have known, somebody must have known that that movie was a piece of shit. But they let it go by because, well, it's directed by John Lasseter. I hope that that doesn't happen with something like Brave, where huge elements of the story might not be up to the Pixar standard, but they're going to let it go because of the people involved in it. Now, Pixar has had a bad record, I feel, of promoting their movies. Toy Story 3 looked like a ridiculous cash-in project from the trailers. And then you see the final film, it was incredibly moving. The ending is just everything you would have hoped for it to be. All the tears came down. Up just looked like a ridiculous comedy. And then you see all the things with Ellie and all the backstory behind the old man character. You know, Pixar always has a lot more up their sleeves with their films than what they're showing. And what they have shown that's good, which is the archery clip that they played as a trailer after the first trailer ended up kind of being bashed by the online community. That was a really good scene where all the men are kind of like out there, you know, in this contest to try to win the Princess Meridia's heart, and she ends up going out there and saying, you know what, I'm going to compete for my own hand. You know, it's so original. And she shoots one of the arrows in half, like she hits the bullseye, the dead center of the bullseye, kind of in Robin Hood style. You know, it's everything that we've seen before, but Pixar has always done that. They've always presented things that we've seen 10 billion times before, but then give it a new heart and a new energy. They take old stories and re-energize them. And I hope that Brave is going to be in that particular category. I'm still sort of weary that there might be a little bit too much of the sort of silly, over-the-top slapstick comedy. But we'll see. Most of the clips that have been presented are mostly from the first third of the movie. Who knows what those other 2/3, what kind of secrets might be held from us. And Prometheus. This is Ridley Scott, who hasn't directed a good movie in about 10, 15 years, could be longer. But then you look at that trailer when I went to the Avengers, and everybody was sitting there just in the theater, and it was dark, and the music was booming, and I felt my heart rate increase, and I went, oh my god, this looks really awesome. I realized that this is just a trailer. Trailers are meant to manipulate you in any cheap way that they can, and a lot of that is in the soundtrack. It kind of reminded me of the Inception trailer. You have no idea what the movie's about, but everything on screen is really interesting. And this could go, again, this is my favorite argument, this could go a lot of ways instead of giving straight out impressions. This could either be a completely generic alien movie with like great production values, and I would be okay with that. That's kind of what I'm going in expecting. But then I keep on hearing these other things about it. There's something slightly more philosophical underneath the surface, that this is about like mankind's origin within the universe, and there's this kind of chariot of the gods kind of element that's going to come into place with this. A lot of people don't really know how this is going to tie into the original Alien yet, because here's the thing. In the trailer, they show off a creature that's been nicknamed the Space Jockey by people who know the alien mythology. In the original Alien, when they go into the ship, there's like this giant alien creature thing in a chair, and there's something really cool about it because you don't really know where it came from, you don't know its motivation, you don't even know what it was really doing. And then in the trailer for Prometheus, like you see that thing up close in like really quick clips and you go, wait a minute, wait a minute, is this going to be like an Alien prequel? Is this going to be like something that's going to kind of tie the knots? And I'm not going to get my hopes up. Clearly there's some kind of connection. But I'm assuming that this film is going to be able to stand on its own. And probably the reference to Alien is only going to be for people who had watched Alien very deeply. Like just sort of something there to nod to the Ridley Scott fans, as opposed to something that's going to make the mythology make sense, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So that's one to look forward to, along with The Dark Knight Rises. This is one of those where my reactions to the trailers seem to be completely opposite from what most people are saying. I think this movie looks fantastic, even from the first teaser trailer that they released. Everybody that I've been talking to, all I hear about it is, oh, The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, see, I want to be excited about it, but I don't know, the trailers just weren't doing it for me. They're good, they're well done trailers, but I didn't feel the excitement. Oh my god, I can't wait to see this. And I think this might be oversaturation from The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight was that film that came out that everybody went, oh my god, best movie ever, oh my god, everybody was raving about it. It was universally well praised. And then you go into The Dark Knight Rises, and I feel like a lot of people, and I think this is actually a good thing that they're doing this. Maybe I should take on this same sort of outlook on it. The fact that this is a third film. This is the end of a trilogy. Now, how many trilogies have actually wrapped up neatly? The only two that I can think of are the Lord of the Rings and the Toy Story movies. Those are the only two trilogies that had really solid third installments. A lot of people are looking into it, saying that, you know what, chances are this is going to suck because there's been too good of a track record. Batman Begins was great. The Dark Knight was great. So The Dark Knight Rises, the chances of it being great are much lower than those other two films, just kind of by the law of averages. But just looking at it from a film perspective, from the promotion, I'm not putting any expectations on the movie itself. I'm just talking about the things that have been given to me by the people who are promoting the movie. It looks so awesome. Oh my god. It is so cool. In the trailer, you had Bane, and he was in the airplane, and they captured Christian Bale, and Christian Bale was rah rah rah, and then Bane was your punishment must be more severe. And then there's just so many things in it, little lines and little character things that get me really excited. And then there's that poster that makes it seem like Batman might have gotten crippled or something. You have the mask and it's broken and you just see Bane's back. And I realize there's this whole story that I had never read that people keep on telling me about. Bane is the one villain who had seriously crippled Batman in the comic books. He's the one who broke the bat. So I think there's a reason that they chose him as a villain for that particular reason. And I really want to see how Christopher Nolan plays it out within his mythology. And I'm looking forward to seeing Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. And I am getting so sick of hearing people say, oh my god, she doesn't look like a cat. Christopher Nolan, what he does with his work within the Batman universe is that he tries to make things realistic as he possibly can, while still staying true to the roots of the characters. And the thing is that Catwoman, if she actually dressed up in a cow outfit and everything, would look really ridiculous within the Nolan universe, in my opinion. And besides that, we already sort of saw that. We saw a great looking Catwoman in the Tim Burton film. So it's kind of cool to just see her kind of look like, a jewel thief of sorts. I have no problem with the realistic approach to the costume. Do I really like the costume? I think it's but that's the reaction a lot of people had, like just looking at the Joker and looking at the other Batman villains that have come out of the Nolan universe. You don't know until you see the actor or actress working within that role. And I have a feeling Anne Hathaway is super talented. She's super pretty. She is going to make a fantastic Catwoman. I hope. I'm going to assume that she will. All right, everybody, my butt is getting numb, so I will stop talking about summer movies now. I love everybody.